how's it going, everybody? Britton back here with Britton's Hangout Hour, and I bet you're wondering, Britton, why is Danny Glover your guy today? Why is he the guy showing up? Are you interviewing Danny Glover? And all I can say is, sadly, no, I am not interviewing Danny Glover, but I am interviewing another guy who's a friend of mine, Kyle Jonathan. How you doing today, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. I'm Kyle Jonathan. I am a film critic for the Movie Sleuth out of Detroit. I live in Virginia, but I contribute to them. Been doing film criticism for going on 7 years now.
Oh, very cool. Sounds like a good job, actually. I also do movie reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the get paid place yet. I've been, for a few things, but I do get to see movies for free and get a lot of advanced screeners, those kinds of things, so it's pretty cool.
Very nice. Yes, we met. How an odd tendency of mine, how I tend to meet a lot of friends. We were arguing about The Matrix.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
But I'm like, hey, this guy's pretty cool, so I guess we're friends now.
There you go. Yep, I meet a lot of my friends like that exact way.
Yeah, I'm like, I got some interesting opinions aside from the fact that we disagree about The Matrix, so, yeah. I also came to him when I watched Shane Carruth movies, which there's only 2 of them. Well, 4 if you want to consider the ones he didn't get to make.
And probably won't.
Yeah, probably won't, unfortunately. You know the sad part of that? My favorite thing he's done is something he never actually got to make, which was A Topiary. Great script, if you've never read it. Very sad that it'll most likely never get made.
Yeah, I'm holding out hope that maybe Soderbergh will circle back around and Carruth will give him the rights to it, but it's not looking likely.
Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know, it's just, I thought it was a really interesting story, I'll put it that way. 'Cause that's what I aim for when I watch stuff, or read stuff, or anything of that matter. I did actually today just finish the season 4 of The Stranger Things, finally. I've been meaning to do it for a while, but now I finally got around to it, so there you go. Did you see the new Stranger Things season?
Yeah, I did. I loved it. I thought it was definitely the strongest out of all 4.
Oh, really? Even over 1?
Yeah. I mean, one is good, but they're kind of feeling you out and just coasting on the nostalgia. I thought they really kind of made their own world, like, deepened a lot of the themes that they were exploring and really got into a lot more mature character development. And I mean, it's still got a few of like the the expected like kind of tropes and shortcomings of a show like that. Like the whole adult Russian plotline was kind of superfluous, but I thought the young adult actors and actresses just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. I also noticed that you like to change your profile picture to, I guess it's a movie that got you going or something that you really like, or you've reviewed recently or something like that.
Yeah, because of my day job, I'm a social worker. I don't like to put pictures of myself online because I deal with the public a lot. So yeah, I tend to just change my cover page and profile pic to whatever's like on my mind, whatever I'm reviewing or whatever's kind of big. So I did Danny Glover in Predator 2 because it's my favorite of the whole Predator series, and it's one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's very misunderstood, very underrated for what it was actually trying to do. So.
Oh, really? I really like the first one quite a bit. I haven't seen the second one in a long time.
Yeah, it's on the nose. It's nowhere near as good. I think it's like one of the lower rated ones, but for me, I think it's like just this brilliant, like dystopian satire of like where we as America we're heading and where we are right now with, you know, fully armored police officers and just rampant global warming and, you know, just the government, you know, just it's very satirical to me. I mean, you've got Morton Downey Jr. playing a tabloid reporter, which is just hilarious and very on the nose given his life and his family history and everything. And you have Gary Busey as a MIT graduate. What? But it just, you know, and like Danny Glover is, you know, you don't get a lot of minority action leads, especially in you know, late 80s, early 90s. And that movie's hilarious because like you can just time the appearance of his Harrigan with like an egg timer. He just like shows up in like the ultimate, you know, butt kicker, and it was just a really neat. And I love the costume design, how it's this kind of like sweaty, kind of like Caribbean dress style, like that's like meshed with neo-noir. They're all wearing pork pie hats, and their guns all have like complicated laser sighting on them, and yeah, it's crazy.
I might have to see it again. It's one of those weird things, like Predator. I always like Predator every time. I like it more every time I see the original Predator film.
Yeah, I think the magic of the OG, and don't get me wrong, I love the OG too. The magic of the OG is that it's really a 3-act play that is, you know, 3 different genres. So you have the first act, which is a war film, right? You know, they're going in, they're rescuing the guys,
Hello?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You just kind of cut out.
The second act is basically a slasher film, right? You know, and then there were none. You know, it's picking off the team members, and then the final act is basically like man versus nature, man versus beast, whatever you want to say. You know, when it's like one-on-one Arnold versus the creature, and like the tone, the tonal shifts are just done seamlessly. It's actually very brilliant.
Yeah, I know.
And it does something that I don't think a lot of the Blumhouse, you know, the pop-up horror movies, they kind of forsake, where spend time making you care about the characters. And that's why those movies are so classic, because even, you know, Jesse Ventura, who's killed like in the first like 45 minutes, you know, he's just memorable. His lines are hilarious. You know, same thing with like Aliens, another great example. The Abyss. But James Cameron basically like really tells on this is how you really, you know, original Alien, really Scott. You care about those characters.
I should rewatch the original Alien the other night. It still holds up.
I mean, they're just, and I think that's like a really important tactic to horror. I wouldn't call Predator like a horror movie per se, but it's definitely got horror elements.
Thriller.
People are getting chalked off left and right. Yeah, you know, but it doesn't have resonance unless you as the viewer care about them. You know, like you care when like Billy like throws his gun down and you know he's gonna die. You know, you're just like, oh man. So
the greatest action scene never made. I'm like, oh man, shit's gonna go down, right? And then it's like, oh. Darn. I saw you did one for Miller's Crossing, which I think is one of the Coen Brothers' most underrated films. I actually got the Criterion version here, because I bought it a few months ago. So I'm like, I can't turn that off. Or I can't turn that down, because I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. It's an interesting one, because it's kind of simple. It's deceptively simple, so it's kind of have to dissect it a little more, see what the Coen Brothers are saying with that movie. But I really enjoy it. I think it's a great one.
Miller's Crossing? Yeah, I wrote a review of it. I'll go back and tag you, but I think one of the reasons... I love it. I absolutely love it. It's interesting to me that in that movie, the town isn't really named. And you don't really see like the extras in the scenes. They're all in like areas of crime, so there's no like actual just citizens walking around, right? So like for me, I kind of took it as like they're all in purgatory. They're all right, like in limbo between heaven and hell, and it just exists like in this like little pocket kind of philosophical, very like Dante kind of like Baroque undertones.
Yeah, it's almost that weird fairy tale like atmosphere.
Exactly. Yeah, and I love that kind of thing. Another great, if you like that kind of fairy tale crime, have you ever seen Running Scared by Wayne Kramer with Paul Walker?
I don't believe I have. No.
Okay, add that one to your queue.
I will.
Won't get into a lot of details, but the basic premise is Paul Walker's like this kind of like street soldier in like a criminal enterprise, and he's tasked with like hiding a gun that was used in a crime, and then like this next door neighbor kid who's being abused like steals the gun to kill his abusive stepdad or whatever. And so the entire movie is a chase where Paul Walker's trying to get this kid and get the gun, but it's actually like Alice in Wonderland. Like there's a Mad Hatter kind of symbolic character. There's these horrific child molester killer characters.
Oh God!
And like it's actually brilliant. But like for example, like their apartment doesn't have any corners because Kramer wanted you to feel the terror that the children feel because there's nowhere to hide. And like they do the shadows of the child killers. Like when the child is perceiving their shadows, they look like Nosferatu, like monsters. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely brilliant, really really great stuff, and it's just a kick-ass movie. Like it's full adrenaline, like pedal to the metal, the entire thing. You're just like, oh my god.
Wow, this film got roasted on Rotten Tomatoes. But then again, the popular opinion is not always to be trusted. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's got flaws, but it's pretty wild. Like I loved it. It's one of those movies where I watched it and I immediately started again. I was like, I gotta watch it again because it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, but I remember you were kind of you wrote a review for it, and I remember you had it as your God damn it, your profile picture. I couldn't think of the word. I'm a big Coen Brothers fan, and I really like Miller's Crossing. It's their version of the gangster film, and it's great.
It is. Yeah, and, I love the Coens. I like their range. I like how they can play in a lot of different genres.
Oh, me too. Mm-hmm.
They started, of course, with Blood Simple, Neo-Noir.
I haven't actually seen that one. I want to, though.
Yeah, it's in Criterion. I actually know that one was only directed by Joel, I think. But they wrote the script together, I believe.
Well, and, I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen Hail Caesar. I haven't seen The Tragedy of Macbeth. And The Hudsucker Proxy. And aside from that, I think I've seen all of them.
I'm not as big on Hail Caesar as a lot of my colleagues, but
yeah, I heard it was all right. Like, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I love No Country for Old Men. That's probably my favorite that they've done. But I'm also like a huge Cormac McCarthy fan, so.
I actually have Blood Meridian over here. I actually want to reread that. Actually,
Blood Meridian is my favorite novel. My absolute favorite novel.
Great book. Terrifying book. Like, I remember, I want to read it again because I don't know if I fully got it the first time, and I watched a bunch of stuff about it. I think I understand it a little better now. It's not as accessible as something like The Road or No Country for Old Men.
Definitely, and it's a hard book. I don't think it'll ever actually get filmed. I don't think it's doable.
It's tough. I mean, it's super violent, but also it kind of wanders a little bit. You kind of have to have your attention. But I love the language of it. I mean, obviously, it's Cormac McCarthy, but yeah, great book.
Yeah, and the treatment of Native Americans would not go over well.
Oh, God, no. But, hey, they do kill most of the Glanton gang, so, I mean, it can't be too bad.
Right. But yeah, there's some great themes in there. Absolutely, just can't talk that one up enough.
I think the Judge is one of the most terrifying villains
of all time.
Of all time, yep.
Yeah. literally the devil incarnate. Like, yeah, I vacillate between, like, do I want John Goodman to play him? Would I have, like, Tom Noonan? Or, like, even Vince Vaughn, like, coming out of, like, Brawl and Cell Block 99, I think he could do it justice. But it is definitely tough.
Oh yeah, I really like the S. Craig Zoller films as well. Brawl is my favorite one of his. Great movie.
Yeah.
I actually read one of his books, Wraiths of the Broken Land, which
Wraiths of the Broken Land? Yeah.
Fantastic book.
Ridley Scott optioned it.
Fantastic book, by the way.
Ridley Scott optioned it for a film, so we might actually get a TV or film version of that.
All right.
Yeah, great book.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. But Zoller is definitely, like, an acquired taste. Like, a lot of people, like, his stuff is... And he, you know, admittedly, his stuff kind of leans right a little bit. Like, and, you know, unfortunately, like, politics is a thing.
I feel like people just say that because he explores characters who aren't generally explored. Which I know that sounds super pretentious, probably, but I find that fascinating. He tends to explore people who... how would you put it? Not likable, because there are plenty of good stuff with unlikable characters in it, but
Well, I mean, he, you know, dragged across concrete. You know, he cast Mel Gibson as a racist cop. It's
well, yeah,
not too far of a reach, but you know, it's an intriguing film.
I also like he doesn't give a shit. He's just like, look, I'm gonna go for it, and you know, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
Now, do I always agree with what he does? I mean, no, not always, but you know, I think he makes interesting movies, and Race of the Broken Land was great, so I guess interesting books as well.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I love him. I think he's a great filmmaker. He wrote the script for the latest Puppet Master movie, the Littlest Reich.
Oh God!
Insanely violent. Like, all the puppets are like Nazi, like,
oh God,
you know, killing machines. Like, it's hilarious. Like, you can get like the 4K disc for like $5 or whatever. But it's pretty good. I mean, it's classic him. Like, if you know what you get into, you're like, yep, that's Zoller. Yep, right there.
I mean, I also really like Bone Tomahawk. That one grew on me, actually, because I liked it. I remember watching it. Was kind of like The Lighthouse. I watched it, liked it, saw it again, really liked it. You know, also I'm a big Kurt Russell fan, so there you go. That never hurts.
Yeah, like, Bone Tomahawk's great because it's a mood piece. I mean, like, you know, oh God, I forget his name, but it's gonna drive me nuts. I have to look that up. But the whole Richard Jenkins, you know, his whole about the flea circus while they're sitting there is just absolutely brilliant and, like, really, like, sets the tone for, like, what's going on. And Russell's great. Matthew Fox is great. I mean, it's just a great movie. Absolutely great. Terrifying. Like, absolutely terrifying. And
yeah, I know. It's like Matthew Fox kind of came out of his hole after Lost to do Bone Tomahawk. I'm like, all right. Okay.
Yeah, and he's, like, super interesting. Like, when he has to kill his horse, like, you're literally, like, your heart, like, stops. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, that's the magic of...
Why am I feeling this way?
It's the magic. I think that's what I like about Zoller's characters. He makes you sympathize with people who would otherwise just be really detestable.
Absolutely. And he, you know, cast Don Johnson, which I'm a huge fan of, so...
Oh, yeah. He does do that. He's the really hard-ass warden in Brawl. I love it.
Yeah, if you dig that and you dig Johnson, another rec I'll give you is Cold in July. Have you ever heard of that one?
I've heard of it. I have that on my list. I haven't seen it. I've heard it's really good, though.
Yeah, it's another one of my all-time favorite movies. It's the guy that played Michael C. Hall, the guy that played Dexter, and then Sam Shepard, rest in peace, and Don Johnson. And I'm not gonna tell you anything about it. I'm just gonna say watch it because it's awesome. Because it's a movie that makes you buy in, and then about 75% in, they flip the script on you, and it becomes a completely different movie, and you're like, what in the hell is going on? And it just works, and it's perfect.
I gotta
like,
see
you think
it,
it's
man.
you think it's one thing, and then it is not that thing. It is a completely different thing, and you're like, oh man, this is crazy. It's really good. And that's by Jim Mickle, and Jim Mickle and his crew are awesome. if you look up Jim Mickle, he's done a lot of indie stuff, a lot of indie horror. He did Stake Land, which is like a vampire flick. We Are What We Are, which is like a cannibal flick. He did this really bad time travel one on Netflix, like
oh god,
something Moon. I can't even remember, but him and his crew, him and Nick D'Amici, who's usually and he did Late Phases, which is one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time. It's so good.
Which werewolf movie?
Late Phases.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that. Yeah, I love werewolves. I want to find good werewolf movies, and I heard that one's a really good one.
This one's like it's like top tier with like, in my opinion, with like, you know, American Werewolf and all that. Like, it's the main character, Nick D'Amici, is a retired vet who's blind, and his son moves him into like a retirement community, and there's a werewolf preying on the old people, and he
yeah, I've heard of, yes,
trying to kill it. Yeah, it's very good, very sad, but it's very good, like very, very good.
He also did Happen Leonard from the great Joe R. Lansdale's
That's right. Yep.
book.
He did the Happen
Great
Leonard,
show.
Great show.
Fantastic show.
Yeah, Mickle is the guy that I hope, like, you know me, I'm not big on superhero movies, but he's the guy that I want to make a superhero movie. Like, I want him to break out into the mainstream, because I think he really has the talent.
Oh, I also did the show for Sweet Tooth. I still need to get to that. That is one of my favorite comic books of all time.
Yeah, I have not seen that one, but I heard some good things.
Oh wow, he's got some good he's got good reviews, so I guess that's good.
He's very solid, but I would, like, if you're gonna start him, definitely dive into Cold in July, because it's very, very good. Great movie.
I will keep that in mind. I thought you said Jim Nickel, so I looked that up. That was fun.
Yeah, Jim Nickel. Yep. With an M.
Jim Nickel. Yeah. All right. There we go. Cold in July is also from Joe R. Lansdale. That's always the weird thing. Should I read the book first or the movie? Because I actually read Gone Baby Gone the other day, and I saw the movie first. So I'm like, damn it. Am I gonna just? Still a great book though, nonetheless. Movie's really good too.
I mean, Lahane's words just are written for movies.
Oh, I love Dennis Lehane. I have 5 of the Gennaro books. I've only read 4 of them. I still need to read the one I got here.
I'm a huge Wire fan, so.
Oh yeah, that's a great show.
Yeah, like everything that guy does.
Omar Little is one of the greatest fictional characters of all time, or at least in my opinion. Actually, a lot of the characters in The Wire are some really excellent. I mean,
I'm gonna put it this way: one of my dogs is named Bunk.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. There. A lot of memorable. I gotta say, Stringer Bell is one of my favorite antagonists of all time. Just great character. I love The Wire.
There will never be anything like it done ever again.
But, I mean, it's one of those shows, though, where it's just so... Like, it's one of those, it tests my limits. Because it's not a show you just sit down and watch. You just kind of... You gotta prep yourself for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a novel. I mean, it's Dickens for our time. I mean, each episode is a chapter, and you can't start in the middle. You have to literally start at the beginning, because something that happens in the first episode matters in the last episode. I mean, it's absolute brilliant storytelling. And that's David Simon, Dennis Lehane, George Pelecanos. Like, those guys just, I mean, lightning in a bottle. It's kind of like it's like an early Carpenter film that, you just can't replicate.
It's kind of like, I sometimes feel like David Simon just sometimes likes to go fuck you to the audience, but aside from that, brilliant writer.
He goes up his ass a little bit. I will give you that.
Seems like an interesting enough dude to hang out with, though. Pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so I love him, one of my idols. But if you go back, they don't stream anywhere, so this is really hard to find. Like, I own the whole series, but his first series was called Homicide: Life on the Street.
I actually have the book right over here. I want to read it, though.
Homicide: A Year on the Killing Streets. Yeah, one of my favorite books. Absolutely love it. But they made a series based on that follows the Baltimore homicide detectives, and I believe it's like 7 or 8 seasons. And the first like 3 or 4 seasons are just Wire level, like, oh my god, I can't believe this actually happened on television. And that was like on like AMC, it was like for general public consumption, and it was so smart and brutal and heartbreaking and terrifying, and just, I mean, it's got like Ned Beatty and one of the Baldwins and John Polito, Casper from Miller's Crossing.
I remember, I do remember, I remember kind of being unsatisfied with the ending of The Wire, but then again, I remember it was kind of like, yeah, you're not always going to catch the bad guys, is what, I remember I was talking to my uncle about it, he also saw it. It was kind of like that. I do kind of want to watch The Wire again, see, I want to see it again at some point, because I want to see if my views have changed if I watch it from beginning to end.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point he was, for me, I think the point he was making is that nothing really changes, right?
That's true, yeah.
Like, did you watch Ozark?
Yes, I haven't seen the final part of season 4.
Okay, well then I won't say much, but it has a very, in my mind, a very similar end, and like kind of like what I took from it, like what it was saying.
I just heard that there's not much payoff for the characters. Not really, like, that sounds bad. There's some stuff I've heard I didn't really care for, because there was some stuff I was really hoping they'd pay off, and it's kind of doesn't seem... It's not Breaking Bad.
No.
Even though it's very similar to that show. I love Breaking Bad.
I like Better Call Saul better, but...
Oh, wow.
Both, but
that is also a great show, too.
But I think the point of The Wire is just the system is flawed, it's broken, things are just going to go on as they are. And that's like kind of what he was saying. It's like, until we make fundamental, systematic changes to our government, to our law enforcement, there's not going to be any significant change. It's just going to keep going. Like, there's going to be another Omar, there's going to be another Stringer Bell, there's going to be another McNulty, and they're just going to keep on. It's circles.
Yeah.
Working in... I've been a child welfare social worker for 20 years, and
oh wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I'm pretty old, but I see the kids of kids that I worked with. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just a cycle. There's a great monologue by the character Munch. He was Munch, the character from Homicide: Life on the Streets. Richard Belzer is the actor. He was in Special Victims Unit. They transferred the character over. But he has a great monologue in like the first episode of Homicide where he's like, here we are January, the first week in Baltimore, there's already been 10 homicides. This is like mowing the lawn. We'll catch them and then it'll just grow back next week. And it's just, it very succinctly summates the state of, child welfare, child abuse, homicide, crime. It just...
Yeah,
it is what it is. And
I kind of didn't want to watch that show because it looked kind of Law and Ordery, and I can't stand Law and Order. It's like the soap opera of crime fiction. I don't like it. Never been a fan of it. Or there's some stuff that's fine, but I've just never really. I like something that has direction. That's ironic. I liked The Walking Dead for many years, but,
Homicide is way better than Law and Order, and it's not like that. It's not a soap opera at all.
Oh, very good.
It's brutal. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. Like, things don't work out. Like, it's reality. Walking Dead. I actually recently decided that I was going to watch the entire series. I was going to watch all of Fear the Walking. I watched all of it. I watched the whole thing. I watched
Seasons 1 through 4 is great. Then 5 onward is kind of iffy, and then like 8 and 9 are just not good. I don't think
it definitely goes off the rail. There's a couple of like bright spots like peppered in there, like a couple of great episodes. Like Rick's last episode is really good.
Oh yeah,
where he's confronting all the ghosts from the past. Like that was brilliant. But yeah, definitely. I think that Fear the Walking Dead is infinitely better than the main.
I would agree. It's been a while since I've caught up with. I haven't caught up with it, but I remember watching the first 3 seasons, and I really enjoyed where it was going.
Yeah, I kind of do the like to me, like, The Walking Dead is the casino of zombie films, right? Like, it's the higher level story, whereas The Walking Dead is the Goodfellas of the zombie.
Yeah, definitely.
Genre. You know, it's the
Actually, was
street
rewatching
level.
Casino the other day.
I mean, and I'm one of the few who I think Goodfellas is the better film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will argue to this day that Goodfellas is like easily top 10 film ever made all time. Easily.
Oh yeah.
It's just perfect. It's just perfection. There's nothing wrong with that movie. But I prefer Casino mainly because I think I'm older and like my life experience, like I just identify a lot more with the characters and the situations, and like it's got this kind of like cynical nature to it. Like De Niro when he's like screaming at the chef about there not being equal blueberries in the muffin. It's like, and that right there is being middle-aged, like right there. Like that is you. You're like, I want my muffin equally, you know, and it's just like, it's a brilliant film. And
that's the magic of Scorsese, and that he brings humanity to these characters who are, I can't pin it all on Scorsese. He also picks great scripts a lot of the time, but he brings a lot of humanity to people who generally are just horrible, who we would just write off as terrible.
I mean, like the ending of The Irishman, which I'm one of the few people, I love The Irishman. I think
I really enjoyed The Irishman.
I would argue it and Dune are like the two best American produced films in like the last like couple of years. Like they're just top notch in my mind. Maybe not my favorite, but they're just so well made. But yeah, The Irishman, like that entire like final like 10 minutes, it's just like and now you die alone.
Like, it was pretty solid. Like, it was pretty good up to the assassination, and then, like, the final, like, 30 minutes I thought was just, oh my god, some of the best stuff Scorsese's ever made.
Yeah, it's really tight. And, like, Pacino is just great. Getting to just be absolutely crazy Pacino, you know?
Oh, yeah, I love Pacino in the movie. He goes over the top and hammy, but he's not, like, super... He doesn't go full Scarface.
Right.
Okay. One of my contrarian opinions is I don't love Scarface as much as other people do. I think it's a very ham-fisted movie, but I love Al Pacino in it. It's super definitely ridiculous.
Like Scarface, like I was a frat guy.
Oh my god.
Full disclosure, I was a frat guy with, yep, you guessed it, a Scarface poster on the wall of my room in my frat house. You know what I mean? And that about sums up Scarface for me. Like as I look back now and cringe, I'm like, oh god, like, yeah, like Scarface is a movie like I'll watch like every couple of years just to be like, all right, fine. Do I still? Nope, still don't like it. Like, of course I loved it. Of course I loved it when I was a kid. It's like, oh, this is great. There's a chainsaw. You know, and it's just like, no, like, you know, like, yeah. I love De Palma, though. Don't get me wrong. I love De Palma, but.
Also, I'm not a huge fan of Oliver Stone. I mean, Platoon is great, but dude is so heavy-handed for me. It's hard to take his work seriously. It's kind of like Spike Lee.
Stone is like, that's interesting comparison with Lee, and I kind of see where you're going with that. Stone bought his own press. Like, I like that he's kind of an iconoclast, and like he's willing to say whatever the hell he wants. But like, yeah, he's in like lately, Jesus, like his last what Snowden movie. I was like, give me a break. This is terrible. Like, I like Alexander quite a bit, the director's cut with, Colin Farrell and all that. Like, I like it, and I like what he was doing, but, like, I get why it was, like, panned or whatever, but, yeah, like... And then, like, Lee, though, I like Lee a lot more only because Lee had to fight for it. Like, Stone didn't really have to fight for it the same way.
I wanna see Do the Right Thing, though, because it looks like a movie I would enjoy.
Do the Right Thing is a great movie because it's so challenging. Because it's one of those films that challenges you as the viewer to make a decision. And either you're going to make a decision and be okay with the movie and love it, or you're going to make a decision and you're going to hate it. And it's really hard for me to, like, explain that to people when I'm like, well, just watch it. Because that's the whole point of the movie is, like, what is the right thing? I'm staying super vague since you haven't seen it. But it's a great I love it. I love Spike Lee. He's probably one of my top 25 directors.
I like Malcolm X from him because I'm a big Denzel fan. So
Malcolm X is, again, easily top 25 American film ever made. Easily.
I also enjoy the autobiography of Malcolm X, which I think is a great book. Fantastic.
Yep. That was Alex Haley, right?
Mm-hmm. And Malcolm X.
Yep. Yeah, good stuff. I read that in high school. I was that kid in high school. See, because I was in high school in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, listening to rap as a white kid was like a death sentence.
I'm
sitting there wearing my Public Enemy T-shirt, and people are like, "Oh, you want to be black?" Blah, blah, blah. I was like, "No, I just like rapping. It's awesome." Like, Public Enemy, they're talking about fighting the man and fighting the system. And, yeah, so that has a very special place in my heart.
Yeah, I mean, I like movies that get me to think. Not always like movies that try to tell you what to think. I know Spike Lee isn't always like that, but again, I just think he's a bit too heavy-handed. There's a good amount of heavy-handed, but he sometimes goes a little overboard. And it's sometimes fine if the movie's fun enough, but it's just kind of how I view it.
Yeah, definitely not for everybody. Definitely acquired taste. I really love his remake of Ganja and Hess. The vampire film from the 60s is called The Sweet Blood of Jesus. I think it's a great film. Super underrated. He kickstarted it of all things, crowdsourced it, but it's a really great movie because it's a vampire movie, but it's really it's basically a kind of symbolic representation of the AIDS epidemic among African Americans. So it has a really interesting way that it goes about the vampirism and the mythology and all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with vampires. More of a werewolf guy. American Werewolf in London's my shit. It's a great movie.
Oh yeah, that's top tier.
Dog Soldiers, even though it is kind of dated.
That Dog Soldiers, Late Phases, as we talked about, Silver Bullet. Wolfen's a great one. You ever seen Wolfen?
I want to. I've heard that one's really good.
Yeah, Wolfen's really good. Really good one. Super sleeper. That's really The Cursed. Have you seen The Cursed? It came out this year.
I heard about it. I saw Chris Stuckman reviewed it. I want to see it.
Yeah, you should get on that. It's really cool vampire or werewolf, and really neat play on the mythology. It's it's definitely sleeper. Took me by surprise. Oh man, this is really cool. Yeah, definitely worth a rental fee kind of thing. That's a good one.
Might have to check it out then. I also watched Arcane for the first time, which was excellent.
Is that the League of Legends?
Yeah. You don't need to play League of Legends, but fantastic series.
I played League of Legends for years. So, yeah, support bottom. But yeah, that was some good stuff. That's a good show.
I saw you were saying. You were talking about. I also watched The Boys season 3, which I think might be their best one yet.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. I love The Boys unequivocally. I can talk about it forever. It's such a great show.
The comic is fun and it's really good, but the show just completely blew it out of the water.
Yeah, the comic, Ennis was a guy, and then again, growing up in the 90s, loved it. Now I look back and I'm oh, super cringe. Some of the writing.
Well, I still unironically love Preacher. I love the show. It was very stylistically faithful. But it's kind of like Transmetropolitan. It doesn't work without the vulgarity.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I respected the show, but it was not Preacher. It was not what made the comic so great.
But yeah, The Boys, Homelander is one of the most compelling antagonists I've seen in recent years.
So...
also one of the most terrifying ones I've seen on television.
So speaking of Homelander, Anthony Starr, have you seen Banshee?
I saw you talking about it. I've wanted to see that. I've heard it's really good.
Okay, it's on HBO Max. Hit it up. It's 4 seasons. It's not that long of a binge. Oh my God, probably one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. Absolutely. Now, I will preface all of that for those of you listening. This is a show that a 15-year-old boy is going to love. It's non-stop sex and violence. And I mean non-stop sex and violence. there's probably a sex scene every like 10 minutes.
I like sex and violence.
But they're
21-year-old man. Though.
Right, they're done great. I'm not gonna say they're done tastefully. I'm not gonna be like pretentious about it, but they're good. They're hot. But it's the closest. It's like, imagine like a Guy Ritchie crime movie, right? Like Snatch or whatever. But pretend for a second that they're all superheroes, for lack of a better term. They're not actually superheroes in the show, but like every single episode, like the main characters get the absolute crap kicked out of them. and you're just like, how are they alive? And then they're just like, the next scene, they're just like either having sex or shooting a bunch of guys. It's absolutely crazy, but it's so much fun. And it one of the best aspects of it is one of the main characters is a character called Job, who's a cross-dresser.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just going to say they, because the only reason I'm saying that is they don't bring attention to it. Like, they just call the character Job. They don't talk about what their pronouns are. They don't talk about the fact that they're a cross-dresser. It just exists organically, which is what I really respect about that show, because it was trying to say, like, look, these are just people. They just, they're just trying to be people with us. And it's absolutely brilliantly done. Absolutely brilliant. Just amazing show. Can't say enough about it. Love it. It's one of the few shows it ends perfectly. Like, it has a great ending. Just absolutely great.
I'm like, oh, so it's Breaking Bad is not the only show with just the perfect ending? I gotta watch this. Well, yeah, that and Gravity Falls, I think.
Gravity Falls, yeah, Gravity Falls, I think. I love The Sopranos ending.
That one grew on me. I think it's it's one of those endings, when you get over the initial what the hell, I think it's actually a good ending, because I don't think it could have ended any other way.
Right, exactly, because you're not going to kill Tony Soprano on the screen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I think that was a brilliant narrative choice. Ozark is very similar. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, boy.
Very similar. Very similar. There's Cut to Black. You're going to be like, what? But then when you think about it, you're like, okay, yeah, it makes sense.
I think what's fun about Ozark, at least from what I've seen, I liked that one of the few issues I have with Breaking Bad is the female, the family's never as interesting as the main character. Same thing with women characters. Ozark is, fascinating because the whole family is really interesting. Like, how would a life of crime affect that whole family? And, I mean, I think Wendy is one of the most underrated villains I've ever seen. Just utterly terrifying.
Yeah. She's absolutely great, and she's complicit, which is the cool part. Like, Skyler is, like, kind of complicit, but, like, they write her bad.
Yeah, she's kind of wishy-washy.
Like, mad respect to Anna Gunn, because I feel like she got an unfair shake with, like, people on the internet, but people on the internet suck, so whatever. But
I think they fixed it with Better Call Saul. The female characters are better in that show, I think.
Oh, yeah. Like, Reese Horn is, like, she better win every single award for Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, I actually want to watch Better Call Saul again since the last episodes are coming out. I want to rewatch it and see.
Yeah.
Chicanery is probably my favorite episode. Just Michael McKean was unbelievable in that episode.
Yeah, I think it ends this week. Actually, I think this is the last episode,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been amazing. And Reese Horn is just, she's doing the work. She's doing the lion's share. She's absolutely amazing.
Gotta check out Banshee. That also has Anthony Starr, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's the main character. And it's cool because you never learn his real name. Like, the whole premise of the show is that he is a criminal released from prison. He's going to get revenge. Shows up at this roadhouse. Guy gets killed. Turns out the guy that got killed is the sheriff of Banshee, the new sheriff that's coming to town. He just takes the badge and assumes the guy's identity, and that's the show.
Oh, wow.
Him being a criminal mastermind, masquerading as a sheriff.
Is he like a good guy or evil or Walter White-like, where he's like evil but you feel bad for him?
I wouldn't say he's like evil. I'd say he's not a good guy.
Oh, okay.
He's not like evil, but yeah, it's just great. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's.
I might have to check it out. I also finally got around to seeing the new Barry season, which was fantastic.
Yeah, that's another show that I think is super slept on. Just
Bill Hader is great.
Doing the work, man. Doing God's work out there.
He's actually a very capable dramatic actor. He's also hilarious as well. So that's a plus.
Dennis Winkler, the Fonz.
Oh my God, he's so good.
And Steve, was it Stephen Root?
Yeah, Stephen Root. One of the most hateable antagonists of all time.
Yeah. And he played what's his face in Office Space, my stapler.
Oh yeah, the stapler guy. Yeah, this is a great movie.
It's so great.
Man, Office Space. That's another underrated film. Talk about everyone talks about Fight Club, but Office Space is great.
And very similar themes. It's actually a really great connection. Like very similar themes, just done in a more lighthearted kind of fashion, but they're basically saying the same thing, which is really good stuff.
It's an odd one. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, speaking of Fincher and Fight Club, I watched Seven the other night.
Really?
Just randomly.
For the first time, or is this a rewatch?
Oh no! I've seen Seven 30 times.
That's actually my favorite Fincher film. That and The Social Club or Social Network.
Social Network. I think Zodiac is my favorite. I love Zodiac.
Fair point.
I love Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I love it.
I love the books.
I can't talk it up. It's just such a weird, unique film for him. I don't know. I love it. But I watched Seven. Man, what a movie! Right?
I know, it's great.
I mean, it's just the cool thing I like about Seven is that's one of those movies. You can watch a couple of movies like Kubrick comes to mind actually when I'm thinking about Seven, because every single scene in that movie is so important. Every single frame. It's just the world building he does, and how the character, or how the city is a character, and it's always raining, and just everything from the way they block the principal actors, and just the way it unfolds. Monumental. In my mind.
One detail I always love. I missed it the first couple times I saw it, but that guy he takes the camera from and throws it.
Yeah,
that's John Doe.
John Doe. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Because he sees the picture in the bathtub when they raid the. And the thing I was talking to my wife about this actually when I watched it. So the first time you watch it, right, you identify with Morgan Freeman, right? Because you're
I feel sorry for him.
Right, but he's the dying humanity of the city, right? Rewatching it again, as a father and just older in life, I identify way more with Brad Pitt's character, and I think he's actually the more important character because he's really the humanity. Morgan Freeman is the kind of he's pulled back, but it doesn't work unless you totally buy into the fact that Brad Pitt's Detective Mills, is this normal human guy, and it's you watch that final scene where he's just talking mad shit to Kevin Spacey the whole time, everything that comes out of his mouth, you're fucking crazy or whatever, just talking shit, and then the big reveal happens,
and then John Doe just goes ha.
Yeah, and you just
aces.
You just see his sanity and all of his humanity is gone forever, and it just doesn't work if you haven't had that whole movie of this poor guy detective who brings his wife to this city they don't know, with a vibrating apartment, and it's so brilliant, just absolutely brilliant, and I love how. There's no action. Not really. I mean, there's the chase scene, but
it's the mystique and the mystery that keeps it. I love the atmosphere too. It's just
it's an ambiance. It's a vibe that John Doe has put over the city, and you're hostage to it.
I feel like Doe was just another victim of the city.
I mean, you could make an argument that maybe he was talking Fincher was maybe referencing how bad our mental health care system is.
Probably.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, he's definitely a product of modern American culture, right? Excess, and I mean, imagine making Seven, mad, because Seven was 96, 97, I can't remember.
It was either 95 or 96.
Right, but imagine making Seven in 2022.
Oh my God. Well, they kind of did. It was called The Batman.
Right. right. Well, that was Saw, but yeah, but everybody's on their phone or their tablet, and everybody's just exposed to everything. Just very,
I love The Batman.
very, very interesting. Oh, I love The Batman. It's my favorite movie of the year. I don't see it changing. And
also, Prey looked really interesting.
Prey's good. I liked it.
Because I'm like, oh, they're doing something new with the Predator. All right, fine. They're like, finally, Hollywood or whoever made this movie. I apologize if you're not like Hollywood related, but they're finally doing something different with this franchise.
Yeah, pretty's good. I think the only I gave it 4 out of 5. I think in my review I have to go back and look, but the biggest flaw is that it's a made-for-TV movie, and you can tell. Around the edges, you can see, the CGI, and it's got that... You know how, when you're watching a movie on, Netflix or whatever, it looks like a Netflix movie?
Uh-huh, yeah.
This looks like a Hulu movie. The second you start watching, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm watching this online. It's not it just has that kind of, around the edges, But the cinematography is great, though, which overpowers it, which is why I think people are loving it.
Also saw Nope, which I thought was great. I know there's some people who are bashing it. I think Nope might be, I actually like it a lot more than Us.
So I haven't seen Nope yet. I know, terrible cinephile, but my theater closed because of the COVID outbreak, and time did not work for me to. But it's dropping on digital. Actually, it might be today or next Tuesday. It's very soon, so I'll watch it then. But yeah, Us. I mean,
I quite enjoy Us too. I think Get Out is his best one, so my favorite one anyway. But still.
Oh yeah, I love Get Out, and I love how, because anybody listening to this has probably picked up that I'm pretty liberal. But,
you like The Wire, so.
Right, but Get Out is lampooning people like me, and I recognize that. I would have voted for Obama twice if they let me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that's
and I think people miss that because of, and it's hello, it's written by a black man who married a white woman who had to date her and deal with her family. You know what I mean? And so he's it's cathartic for him, where he's making fun of them being uncomfortable with him being uncomfortable with them saying awkward crap, trying to be cool. And it's so funny. It's so funny. It's that's why on Facebook I'm always making fun of people when the unfortunate the terrible murder of George Floyd and all of that, and people were changing, people were changing their profile pics to black, a black square.
Mm-hmm.
I think I posted, Bradley Whitford being I would have changed my profile to black square 3 times if they let me, because to me it's funny,
damn, I should have done that.
Right, and another one that I like to throw on there. Have you ever seen the original Candyman, the OG Candyman?
I love Candyman. Great film.
Very similar idea, though, right? You have a bougie, upper middle class white chick who's building her thesis on basically gentrification and the exploitation of minorities in Chicago. And so one thing I put this picture of her, Helen, and I was I would have written my thesis on computing and grade 3 times if they let me. It's a very similar kind of vibe. They just, Get Out has more of a humorous kind of approach. One of my favorite little details.
Funnily enough, Jordan Peele did the other Candyman, didn't he?
No, Nia DaCosta.
He helped with it.
It's very good. He might have executive produced it or something. But a funny little detail that's in Get Out that I love, that he continued the gag in Us.
Oh
was, in the finale when Daniel Kaluuya's character is in the Upside Down or whatever, or not Upside Down, the dark place, when he's all captured. Talking Stranger Things, jeez. But his girlfriend is online and she's scrolling looking for her next victim.
Oh my god!
At all these, these black men, and she's eating Fruit Loops out of a bowl, right?
There's a funny thing about that where Jordan Peele was there were some people who were talking about how that was a subtle thing about racism. That was not my intention. I just thought that would be just kind of funny to do. That just makes me laugh every single time. Every time I see that scene.
That's really funny because to me, I loved it because she's drinking the milk separately, so it's the white and the color are separated.
Maybe, I mean, it's a happy accident.
but the only reason it really stuck in my mind was in Us, the same thing happens when they go to the neighbor's house. Elizabeth Moss, Alexa, call the police. Fuck the police. You know that whole thing. When they go in their house and they're sitting at the table, and it's like Winston, they're just sitting there trying to figure out what to do. There's milk and a bowl of Fruit Loops on the table.
He just thought it'd be a funny little in joke.
Yeah,
that's good.
So I thought
like
that was a cute little Easter egg of him poking fun at the whole situation.
Yeah, 2017 was a great year for movies, from what I remember. Yeah. I also... Us is weird because I really love the I'm a big concept guy. Like, if you give me a good concept, I'll jump right on it. But I don't know how to feel about the final twist, though. This is one of those things. Same thing I feel when I watch, a mid-tier Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, he swung for the fences. Definitely failed.
I'm like, it works, but I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. 100%. I mean, I thought it was ambitious. I respected it, but definitely flawed.
I think with Nope, he was more ambitious and he managed to make it work better. It's not all... I like how it's not all spell. I will say, really pay attention to the movie, because I know that people kind of like to complain, oh, you're just being pretentious. No, just, pay attention to the movie, and you'll get what's going on. I promise.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
I'm I promise you'll get it. Just be patient and watch the movie. And I don't...
100.
But I'm I'm one of the things that peeve me today about this modern online culture of movie reviewers is that it almost feels like they're just there to complain about the state of movies. And don't get me wrong, I have my fair share of issues with how modern films are made, but so I'm not saying they don't have a point. My little thing is that it's super just when they do make good movies. I don't think it's Marvel's fault, for instance. It's just... that's a whole other rant for another time. But a lot of it just has to do with the fact that people are being fucking lazy and don't want to go out and see movies that are actually good. Because, the movies that are, actually good or not don't, Apparently, it's just, and maybe you could blame this on Hollywood, but... it's just, just stop being lazy. And also, Hollywood... market your movies better.
Well, I think, despite all of my, because I mercilessly make fun of the Marvel.
Oh, yeah, I get it. It's fine.
But, I think Tom Cruise proved everyone wrong.
What do you mean?
I mean, Top Gun Maverick made over $1 billion.
That movie surprised the hell out of me, just how many people liked it.
Yeah, because, it's a good movie.
It's popular to bash things now. Even the guys who are, bash everything under this... Even good movies. Even they liked it. And I'm like, oh my god, I gotta see this.
Because it's that good. It is good. And there's a very mature undertone to it, which is why I think it resonated so much with people. But, he showed, they can do it. They can make non-superhero movies. Now, can they make a non-IP movie? I don't know. I think I think what's going to determine, I know this is a grand statement, and we can come back and talk again sometime, but I think Avatar 2 is actually going to be the bellwether, if you will.
No.
Yeah,
God, no. I have to disagree with you there. I hate the first Avatar.
No.
I lost so much respect for James Cameron after that movie.
It's not even about that though. I'm with you. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is the absolute popularity of that film and all the records it broke and how good it did, and it became this cultural phenomenon. If the second film can do that again, I think we're going to be okay. As far as theaters and things of that nature. If it completely flops, which I'm not gonna lie, I think that's what's gonna happen.
I think we do really need another new Hollywood at some point, because we are certainly kind of stagnated at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, MCU is probably the best thing that's happened to modern Hollywood, but aside from that, we're kind of lost.
I think if that flops, we are rapidly approaching only superhero and Fast and Furious movies in the theater.
Yeah.
You know,
Fast and Furious sucks.
I mean,
No, I'm kidding.
Despite being like a pretentious film nerd, like I'm okay with like watching movies in my house. It's fine, whatever. I don't have to do it with other people. Other people on their phones, whatever. Take my kids. We'll go see the Spider-Man or whatever you want. But and I mean, the reality is like art house films never make money anyways.
Well, yeah, I like A24 because they make really interesting movies without having to like pander to an audience. And I'm like, Green Knight was my favorite film last year.
Green Knight was great, man.
Fantastic movie.
Green Knight was great.
I loved it so much, I bought it for Christmas.
Right, great Christmas movie. With bodily fluids, yay!
Yeah!
Yeah, like you don't see a sperm a lot in non-X-rated films. I was like, okay.
I loved the elegance of it. It was the first episode of the other podcast I did. So you can watch that if you want to see how much my friend Jacob and I loved it. But great, I loved how it's almost like a myth brought to life.
Absolutely. And
I loved it. Ralph Ineson was amazing. Practical effects were outstanding in that movie.
So I tell you, I know I'm just giving you recommendations left and right, but if you really enjoyed that, highly recommend you check out Excalibur.
I've heard that's a good one. my friend, I told him I was seeing the Green Knight, and he's an older guy, so he's all like, I remember back in my day there was Excalibur, and I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, I try not to do that, but yeah, Excalibur 1982, John Borman, dude, you would love it.
Nah, he was just being funny when he said that, but he's like, hey, Excalibur I thought was a good movie. I'm like, all right, I'll check it out.
It's a great movie, great kind of very similar, it's Arthurian, but it's violent, it's sexy, it's all of the stuff. It's all the stuff.
That's the thing, I'm not a huge Arthurian legend fan, and I love The Green Knight. Maybe it was just the way they did it. I don't know. I think David Lowery is an interesting filmmaker.
He is. I love The Ghost Story.
I love it too. Pete's Dragon is also great. I saw that this year.
And speaking of Carruth, Carruth did the editing on it.
I heard he helped with it. Yeah. It breaks my heart about Shane Carruth. Personal issues aside, that's one of those that just really kills me on the inside. That he never really had the chance.
Look, dude, my license plate says Upstream Color. That's my license plate.
That's a great. I have a funny story about Upstream Color. I was watching it, and I was watching it for the first time last year. I was watching it, and it's very ambient. So there's a bunch of sounds coming off. My mother walks in and is like, what the hell are you watching? There's a lot of noise coming from your room. And it's just, it's a fun one. Upstream Color's a great movie, though. Did I get all of it? I think I got about 70% of it, but the rest of it I'm kind of lost on. But I think the general story is pretty straightforward.
It is my absolute all-time favorite movie.
Oh, it's fantastic. Great film.
Yeah, I love it. Nothing like it. It's my comfort food. It's my warm blanket. That and John Carpenter. John Carpenter is my chicken soup for the soul director. I have all of it. Every 4K of his movies have been released. I'll just put them on repeat. If anytime I'm feeling down or I'm feeling bad about something, I just put that on. I love John.
I like Upstream Color more than Primer in terms of the films he actually got to make. I think Primer's a very ambitious idea, and what he managed to do with just like $7,000, that's nuts.
Yeah, Primer's great, and it's also one of my favorite movies, but it is definitely highbrow pretension. You have to be like that movie has an IQ requirement. And I try not to scream please filter online, but that movie, if you don't possess a certain amount of raw intelligence, you'll never get it. And that's why I'm always hesitant, because that's not everyone, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. It's just a lot of people don't want to do calculus when they watch a movie. They want to watch a movie, and Primer is calculus. It's homework. You have to sit there You have to sit there and like really. I mean, like if you Google like primer and look at the images,
you'll find it like just explained, and there's just like there's like a whole map.
Yeah,
and it's just a shitload of stuff going on.
Like,
you're like, oh my god.
Right, but the thing that I love about Primer is that I love how minimalist it is. But for me, it's a horror movie, right? Because like in the end, he's building the goddamn building.
I know, it's like, oh god, this is not gonna go well.
Right, and you're terrified for his friend because you realize like this is never gonna stop, and I'm just gonna keep doing it over. And you know, to me, it just terrified me, and I love that. I love movies where like I get scared and they're not horror movies because like I think about like the implications and just like terrifies me. I'm like, man, that movie is great because it just starts off and like the last 5 minutes, it just full on becomes horror when you're like, oh my god, he's not gonna stop ever. And I love it, but it is definitely not one that I watch a lot because I don't want to think that hard.
You don't want to screw your brain.
I'm like, man, like I'm not trying to think about where this dude is, where that dude is, what's going on. The guy, you know. Whereas like Upstream Color, I can just put on anytime.
It's another one where it's not quite as dense as Primer, but it is just as interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely a lot of I mean, you gotta watch it a couple times. I didn't even get it the first time I watched it.
Well, like I said, I think I got the gist of the main story, which is, you know, I won't spoil it here, but I think I got the gist of the main story. But, like, what Carruth was trying to say, like, with cycles, I don't know if I got entirely all that.
Right, I mean that's it. It's literally
like,
a story.
You sent me like a map a few months ago, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't get it. Where does it start, man? You're like,
that's the point. You don't know where it starts, and that's kind of what he's saying. Is like the cycles are just like persistent throughout your life, and so like breaking a cycle is like very difficult. You know, like Thoreau went to live in the woods with Walden, which is why, you know, they're reading Walden throughout the, you know, it's very heavy stuff. Like, I don't recommend it to people. Like, I'm like, oh, you should watch this movie, because I'm like, nah. If you're not ready to like think about something, don't watch this movie, because you won't get it. You'll hate it.
It's kind of like,
I think it's a great movie. Like, if you're with like, you know, someone that you truly love, like, you know, in a relationship, I think it's a great movie to watch with somebody that you love, somebody that you care about a lot.
My favorite line from the movie is when he looks through and he sees that husband with his wife, and she just says, "I just want you to know, I hope you know that everything's gonna be better and that I love you." I'm just like, that's such a beautiful line.
I love the line where it's like, you can't keep coming to my work, I can't do this, because it just cracks me up, because it's like, oh, like, you have that relationship, you're like, please stop coming to my work. But my absolute favorite scene in the film, which breaks my heart every time, like, I even have trouble talking, I'm gonna get choked up talking about it, but when they're killing the piglets.
Oh, man.
And Chris can't find, and she's looking for the keys, and she starts freaking out, and she calls Jeff, and she's like, I can't find him, but she's not really looking for the keys, she's looking for the piglets. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, he comes over with the gun, and they just like huddle down in that
bathtub.
Which is the poster, you know, because it's like, you know, as a parent, like, I just think about my children, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what if I couldn't find, you know? And it's like, she just, you know, Amy Siemens is absolutely amazing, and she's communicated that so beautifully, where she's just ripping the drawers open looking for something that's not there.
I want to see some of Amy Siemens movies too. I heard they're good.
She'll Die Tomorrow. I forget the other one, but yeah, she's absolutely amazing. Just brilliant actress, you know, and she was in Alien Covenant. She's been in a bunch. She's coming up, but yeah, I love that scene. It just breaks my heart every time. And then I love, of course, like the end of Upstream Color, because I just cry every time I watch it, because I love it, because when all the victims of the thief show up, and they're, you know, they send them the copy of Walden, and they all show up, and then they're raising the pigs humanely, and, you know, she can't have children because of everything that happened, and she's just, you know, and she's cuddling the piglet, and, you know, pop, 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 pop to the, you know, to the pig, and just that last scene of like her like cuddling this piglet. It's just, it's brilliant, but it just, you know, I argue a lot of people like, that can't be your favorite movie. Like, dude, it's my favorite movie. Like, my profession is based on people changing and trying to make a positive change in the world, and I can't think of a better movie that does that, other than maybe Short Term 12. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I don't think I have.
Brie Larson, Captain Marvel. It's her first movie.
Oh, Short Term 12, you said?
It's directed by the guy that did.
Shang-Chi. Yeah. Oh wow, yeah, that was a great movie.
Shang-Chi, and it's got what is the guy's name?
Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, he's in that as like Short Term 12 is about a group home for foster kids. He plays one of the foster kids because he was only like 18, 20 years old in this film. And,
yeah. Sadly, my favorite thing that Carruth has done is a film, like I mentioned earlier, film he never got to make, which is called A Topiary.
Man, I don't know if I like A Topiary or The Modern Ocean better. Like, they're both just, like, up there for me. Like,
I've been too intimidated to watch them, to try and even get into The Modern Ocean, because I've heard that one's just like, oh, you think that Upstream Color's crazy? Oh, you haven't seen it yet, sir.
Yeah, The Modern Ocean is, like, next level crazy. And, you know, he was like, signed with a studio. He had, like, Keanu Reeves, Daniel Radcliffe, Anne Hathaway. I mean, he had, like, an actual, like, you like Google The Modern Ocean, and you'll see, like, all the people he had lined up for it, and it's just heartbreaking that we'll never get it. And then after reading the script, I was like, Jesus, this would have been absolutely awesome.
It's like A Topiary, for me, it's just like, I do, you know, like Stranger Things, I do kind of like the kids end up I do like this trope when it's done well, the kids finding
Kids on bikes.
Kids on bike, yeah, that's what I like to call it. The first half is really good too, because it's about this dude who just becomes obsessed with this thing about car crashes. Disregarding Henry on YouTube made a really great video that breaks it down and does a really good job explaining it.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene in the script is when him and the ex-wife reconcile, and then they start piecing the pictures together that were shredded, and they stand back and they realize they're looking at a picture of themselves.
I know, it's just like
oh my god, like my heart stopped. I was like, oh my god.
And then we meet the kids, and it's just like, I love how it kind of takes the Goonie E.T. kind of ethos of kid find weird thing in the forest and kind of tilts it on its ear, and maybe there's something more sinister at play. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and like, they're not, like, I like that they become enemies. Like, how the kids aren't all friends.
They're not all like boys.
Like, right, like they start to, like, covet the item, and they start to fight one another. I mean, in the end, of course, they come together, but by then Earth is dead, so it doesn't matter. But, you know, like, that was really a really neat kind of twist of the genre, where, like, Stranger Things does it a little bit, but, like, you know they're going to be friends again, whereas, like, in that script, I was like, no, I don't know if
there are some things that kind of pull on my suspension of disbelief, like, one of the kids is called, like, Euclid. I'm like, what the fuck kind of a name is that? And I'm like, oh, it's like a scientist. Okay, I get it, I think.
Did you know, if you watch Upstream Color, there's test footage from...
I know, the
monster, she's editing the video. That was his test footage that he sent to Soderbergh.
And that's just I think, not Upstream Color, I just feel like A Topiary is, like, his most, like, not straightforward work, but you can understand what... It's kind of like how I describe Nope. Pay attention, you'll get what's going on.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm with you on that. And there's still enough subtext and enough intelligence that you know it's like a Shane Carruth movie. Okay, yeah, this is him. Like, I love the kind of bait and kind of like Predator. It's kind of the bait and switch. These two different stories that happen in the same movie. You know. Right. Absolutely.
I just think it's fast. It's just it's one after I heard the video from Disregarding Henry. I just it's one of those where I just became completely obsessed with it and just started. I looked up all the articles and I just went full tinfoil hat. Like, it was nuts. Breaks my heart that film will most likely not get made. It's just like, why? Yeah, I'm like, this is why Hollywood's in a fucking... I'm like, you want to know why all these people who are complaining about Hollywood and they're saying that, you know, Hollywood is just stagnated? This is why, because they don't trust, like, people with big ideas to do what the hell they want. I mean, I think it's a little more complex than that. I do think it was a bit foolhardy of Carruth to try and follow Primer, which is this little shoestring little thing he did with something as massive as A Topiary. But, damn. Really wish we could have gotten to see A Topiary. This dude could have been, like, rivaling Christopher Nolan. And I love Nolan.
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh my god. Like, I even felt Tenet was kind of a ripoff of some of the stuff that Carruth was doing.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm all like, Shane Carruth and Michael Mann together. I'm a big Michael Mann fan, too. Though Black Hat, I did not care for.
I hear you.
It was basically old man trying to understand how technology works, and it's so bad. It's so bad.
Very aptly said.
I'm like, just stick with the crime dramas. Like, you'll be fine. Heard Tokyo Vice is good, though.
Yeah, I need to watch that. Well, I am basically out of time. I gotta go do all the bedtime parent stuff.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This was really a lot of fun.
Hangout hour.
Anytime.
I would love to do this again sometime.
Anytime. Seriously, I love just talking movies, and this was great. Great time.
All right, take care. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for popping on. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.